2.
Whoa, look out, whoa. The nutmeg's getting away from me. Shoo, welcome everyone to the Nutmeg Tavern. We are live. I'm your host, John Townsend. It is a snowy day here in Indiana. You know, it's after April 15th, and we just have to have snow in April. It happens every year. We are going to be having fun today, talking about lots of behind-the-scenes stuff here at Townsends. I've got a topic that we're going to talk about today. But before I get any further, I do have someone in the studio helping me out with the live stream today, Ryan.
Hey guys, how you doing? It's good to see you. Happy Friday.
There he is. He's making it happen on the console. You're still there, Ryan. You're still on the console. There you go.
Well, I thought they would want to see me a little bit more.
So, I could maybe make this live stream happen with just me in the studio, but I don't want to make the live stream happen with just me in the studio. That's just all there is to it. And it has been here with the skeleton staff, James Townsend and Son. You guys have been keeping us hopping. We are just doing stuff as fast as we possibly can here in the building, and we're just barely keeping up, but we're making it happen. Thank you for all you do to help us at Townsend's. So yeah, what was the video this week? It was the shelter video. So yeah, we shot that. How long ago was that, Ryan?
It's like 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah, a long time ago.
We shot it right after we got back from building a log barn.
Right. So we got back from building the log barn. We said, well, we got to build something. All this information will fall right out of our heads. So we built the shelter, and we got done with it, and we started working on some other projects. And when it came back time to look at that footage, we were just like, oh, this is just not how we want to shoot it. We should have done something different. And so we just sort of put that footage, in the old Foot Locker. And Aaron was working at home, and he said, I think we can make this into something.
Well, it's like we liked how it looked, but we were somewhere in between, like, instruction and not instruction, and we never really found our stride with it.
Yeah.
So.
And at the time, we were going to shoot some more talking footage, and we never got around to that, and so it kind of sat there, sort of 90% there, but not edited. And Aaron did just such a great job of, it's like, okay, guys, I will make this into something. He does a really good job at that. So thank you, Aaron, for your amazing work.
Yeah, he's in the chat. If you guys liked it, shout him out.
There you go. So we had a lot of fun with that. And the project was great. Of course, working with Josh in the woods with axes. That's an adventure.
Well, hey, John, what are you drinking?
I've got some Madeira over here. And to mix it properly, some tea over here. I put the nutmeg in the tea, not in the Madeira. I'm going to get to Patreon, the first half of the Patreon list right away this week because, again, a giant week for Patreon. We had a lot of fun in a Patreon special live stream midweek, so thank you all you folks that tuned in for that. The new people this week, let me find a midway mark. Here we go. Alex I might have got him last week, or the people that start up on Friday always, I'm not sure what do I get anyway. Richard Goodall, Lorraine Scott, Becca, Joanne R. The guy who writes these down is sloppy. Bob Schutz, Sam Page, Sally McLaughlin, Greg Stefani. Those are just some of the brand new people on Patreon this week. You guys have done, you just help us out amazingly, so thank you.
Ooh, somebody got their new catalog in the mail today.
Yeah, the new catalogs are out.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, good, excellent. Yeah. What about the topic? Do we want one question and then we get into the topic?
I don't have any questions yet. What do we? Let's say what we're going to talk about so they can start throwing some stuff in.
Well, we're going to be talking about sort of industry, different kinds of industries, different kinds of tools, especially sort of esoteric, small, interesting industries in the 18th century and big, heavy industry. It's like, how do they do things that they shouldn't be able to do, right? That's what we're going to be talking about. I'm going to be showing pictures from this book. This is just the plates volume of Diderot's Encyclopedia from the 18th century. This is what they did. This is the compact version. Here, I'll show you one of these pages here. So each one of these was actually, there's like 4 pages on one page. So the true set of Diderot's full size is massive. It's this massive set of books. And the only way to make it like you could get it into your library is to make the compact version where they squeeze it down 1/4 size. Anyway, it's a giant encyclopedia. There are 5 or 6 of the compact ones. There are 5 or 6 that have all text, and this is just the plates that explain the text. I can't read 18th century French, so I just look at the pictures. What can I say?
So I can kick this off with 3 or 4 super chats real quick.
Okay, super.
Denise Maloney Pyron says, John and Ryan, glad you are well and able to do this. History with Brad. Glad to finally be able to get back to watching these live streams. I've missed you guys. Stay healthy, guys. And if you guys don't follow History with Brad on Instagram, then you're really sleeping on that.
Check that out.
He needs to be followed. And then, let me see here. Kayabi451.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see. I was just watching the Million Sub special, and the topic of something called Crimson Bond came up, and everyone freaked out. I couldn't find anything on YouTube. So what is Crimson Bond? Good thing Aaron's not here. He'd be throwing a fit. He'd be breaking stuff. And then Nat Morris Nolan just chimed in. Made some journey cakes for lunch today. Great for dunking in stew. Thanks for all your lovely videos. And then Colin Kelly just threw something in here. Said my friend Matt's birthday is next week.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Matt.
Happy birthday, Matt. He's a huge fan. He would love to get a happy birthday. We beat you to it, Colin. Happy birthday, Matt. I hope you have a great day.
Yes.
All right. And then Trish Brown throws in a dancing green fluffy guy that says, you're amazing, with confetti and a hat and maybe a tambourine. Thank you for that. We're going to move into the topic. You guys can throw some stuff in Super Chat if you still want to, and I'll get to it, I promise.
Since they actually asked the question, I don't want to get too far. I gotta dig deep into Crimson Bond. Crimson Bond is a movie that we did based upon early YouTube videos, and we sort of put them all together and made them into this. We shot and we made a movie. So it's like a book you write in high school, right? And then like 20 years later you go, whew, right. Glad nobody ever read that.
Aaron commented, Crimson Bond, never heard of it.
He was in it. But yeah, so
were his bare feet in it? I think
maybe.
Okay. Nicole Marley sends in the super chat with a hello.
Hello, Nicole.
Hello, Nicole. It's great to see you in here today. All right, let's get on topic here.
On topic.
Enough with the silly stuff.
Diderot's Encyclopedia. So much fun. Let's go to the first slide. Boom! And like the first real kind of base in sort of industry that you need to make industry, right, is charcoal. And charcoal is used in industrial purposes and in heating and cooking in the 18th century. So here are charcoal burners, and there are some videos on YouTube about making charcoal. I just thought I would show these pictures of what they thought their charcoal was like there in France in the 18th century. And you can see they build up this big pile of sticks that are just the right kind of, they all have to be about the right kind of size and the same kind of seasoning and all that, all different small sizes. They pack them together, put soil on the outside of it. They might even dampen that a little bit. And then they start this up on fire, and they try to control the heat and basically bake the wood on the inside, firing from itself. But they don't want it to burn up to ash. They want it to just sort of half burn up. It is It is not a science, it's an art. Making charcoal happen, and it's a really cool process to do. I would love to try making a big charcoal burn sometime. There are some historic sites that do that. In a modern sense, they do charcoal basically in retorts. They will make a big iron vessel and then heat that up. It's a much easier to control, and you can keep the wood from burning up itself. This is the old-fashioned method. Okay, next picture. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, now it's hard for me to see this exactly, but these guys are making stockings, and these are sort of sewn together stockings, not knitted necessarily, but you can see some of the tools there on the I don't know if it's the right hand for you. On the right hand for you, there's this sort of odd stick with two things that stick out of it up at the top of that. Those are teasels on that sort of Y-shaped stick, and that's to fluff up the material. That's how you would make blanketing have that nice fluffy surface, is that you use these teasels and it drags all the fibers out and makes the fabric nice and fluffy. And this person's also making things like there's leather garters over there to hold the stockings up. So there's tools of the trade for making stockings. That's what a simple workshop was going to look like for a small industry like that. Go to the next one.
Sure. Somebody commented that they're still making charcoal like that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They're using that method in India. Have you seen any modern?
Well, you'll also find that Haiti, which is just impossible to believe that Haiti is basically deforested, but they make charcoal out of what little sticks they have and they export it. It is heartrending. Anyway, next picture here, we've got folks making buttons. Now, today we don't think about people, you know, like, oh, I own a button factory, right? But in the 18th century, button factories and people making buttons, very, very important. So they have these wheels, sort of like a drill press sort of operation. You can see all these little drills up here in the top where they'll drill into something like bone or wood or horn, and they will make the circular bone pieces. And one of the interesting things about this upper picture, I don't know how close you can see it, but one of those people working behind the tool there is a woman. So it is not sort of only men have jobs in industry in the 18th century. There are women who are working in factory kind of situations. Generally, you think of that, you know, happening more in the 19th century, and then obviously, you know, in 20th century and 21st century. But it's definitely a thing that's happening in the 18th century. So a really cool set of tools. Bow drills and different kinds of tools there you can see, but how primitive it is to make buttons. Today, hey, we just squirt some plastic into a mold and out pops, 1 million buttons. Buttons cost nothing to us today compared to the high cost of buttons in the 18th century. Next picture is making rope. And these guys are making pretty heavy duty rope here. You can see there's a couple of different, now, they have squeezed the operation down onto the page. It's quite likely that there would have been a lot more distance between some of these groups at different times, but you can see the different various tool sets and how many people it's going to take to do this job. They're making big rope and there's like 3 or 4 guys on one side, there's another 3 or 4 guys on the other side, and even in the middle here on the bottom part of that picture, there's a boy that's also helping out here in the middle. Again, just like there's women in the workplace, there are children in the workplace doing jobs that are appropriate, I guess, for them in the 18th century. And rope making, again, huge industry, very important. Let's go up to the next one, and I believe this one is, forging huge pieces of iron. Now, I'm not sure exactly what this giant chunk of iron is that he's working on, what he's going to turn that into. But what we can see here are big water-powered drop hammers from the 18th century. So you cannot forge a giant, 6-inch thick piece of iron by hand with a sledgehammer. Even is just impossible. You got to heat this thing up, it gets red hot, it's super duper hot, and then you need this super heavy hammer, and some people can't even pick it up. So they've got these wheels that turn. They have these sort of a big boss that sticks out of the side of this big wheel, and it picks up the hammer, and then that as it turns, it slides past it, and the hammer drops, bam, down onto the piece, and just keeps going. Drop, 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 however fast that giant log basically is turning and dropping that hammer down on this. And many times there's going to be more than one guy holding up that piece of iron. This picture, again, they're trying to get that in scale so you can see the whole thing that's going on with this operation, but just amazing. Next one is, this is a little section. Some of the sections in Diderot's aren't necessarily about doing something necessary more than they are about science. And there's a section on pneumatics. Thought it was really funny. If you've ever dug into the Lewis and Clark expedition, they had with them 1 or 2 air rifles. So you'd pump up air. Yes, we're talking 1804, 1805. You have a reservoir. You pump air into it, and then you'd have this gun, and it would shoot out the bullet by air pressure. And here's a picture of an 18th century air gun, and just super. And apparently it was very impressive to the Native Americans that saw the air gun, because of course it didn't make any real noise, and it did the opera. I don't know, it's a pretty cool thing.
Somebody just chimed in about the forge nest when you're making your big power hammer.
Oh yeah, that would be fun, wouldn't it? There is, in a small power hammer kind of way, in a small, probably early 20th century power hammer, you'll get to see that if you look at the Jamie Tyree blacksmithing video that we did. He uses just a small power hammer in his workshop. Let's see, what's this next picture? Which is, I can't see it very well.
There's an anvil and a stump.
Yeah, this one's a cutler. So he's making knives and other items for the home. And one of the interesting pieces here is the grinding and polishing operation that they've got here. The person in the foreground of this workshop, he's leaning on this sort of in a prone position down onto the top of this polishing or grinding wheel, and there's a master wheel on the backside that you either have somebody else turning or a child turning, or somebody is on the backside turning this thing, and it spins the grinding wheel or the polishing wheel depending on what you're doing, and then he leans on this board, and that way he could put his whole weight on the item that he's polishing or grinding on. And you'll see these are some of these, and there's a few paintings from, say, the 17th century that show an even larger operation, but very similar. And I mean, today in different parts of the world, you'll find grinding and polishing wheels almost exactly the same. Big wheels that the operator's leaning down onto. Really interesting operation there. Now go to the next one. This one, I can't actually remember exactly what the operation was, but I thought their presses and their wheels for their roller mill, basically, it was real interesting. So we could see how that was made with wood and with primitive iron work. There's a big press in one of those pictures where you can where they're just squeezing something down, and then there's sort of a roller mill operation going on. Nobody's working in these particular pictures, so it's hard to get like a human scale on it. Go ahead to the next one. These guys are making. Is it this one? Yeah, these guys are making fake pearls, fake pearls. So they're enameling onto these little metal beads, and they're enameling the sort of an opaque or opalescent material. And so today you do that with little blowtorches. But they don't have blowtorches in the 18th century. So go ahead and flip to the next picture. What they're using, here's a closer up picture. What they're using is a Betty lamp. So it's just an oil wick lamp very, very primitive, and has a little tiny air jet. And I think there's a little foot pump or like a little bellows they operate with their feet, and that can give them this little poof of air, which creates a much hotter flame for just a little bit. So they worked out all these amazing little tools out of something that was very, very primitive. These oil lamps, a lot of houses were lit with something that was like this. Candles are expensive. Oil and a little oil lamp, much less expensive. A lot of Betty lamps look almost exactly like this, except it's got that extra little blast of air to create high temperatures. This picture, here's some heavy industry. So this is in the metallurgy section, and earlier on they cast these big sheets of metal, and there's two different operations going on here. Actually three. But let's look at the bottom right-hand picture, part of the picture. And there's a giant pair of scissors. And one end of the scissors is bolted into the ground or is stuck into the ground. It's got a big heavy thing so it can't move. And the other end of the scissors is operated by this huge lever. So there's three guys on this lever that's like 20 feet long. Okay, so he's trying to cut, he's got a pair of shears, right? And he's trying to cut this inch-thick giant sheet of metal. That's not easy to do. But what happens when you need even more force than 20 feet and three guys on the end of it? That's what's happening in the middle of this picture. There's a horse going around, okay? It's turning a thing, and that is like operating a whip. So there's the big lever, just like there was before, and the scissors in the ground or whatever. I can't quite see if there's some other operation going on there, but just like the scissors in the ground. But instead of the three or four guys on the end of the stick, there's still three or four guys, but there's a rope, and the rope goes to this other stick that's sticking out of the ceiling. That goes back and is turned by another gear, and the horse is actually rotating this other thing around. It is just purchase upon purchase upon purchase so that they can get a massive quantity of force on the shears or other piece of machinery. They could also do the same sort of thing to a press or whatnot. So just incredible fun industry, and how they would do it with, oh, well, I've got some wood, I've got some horse, I've got some very, very primitive metal. So there you go. That's Diderot's, and that's just a tiny little sampling of all the different things that are inside of Diderot's encyclopedia. Fishing, and sometimes there's crime in there, so they show sword fighting. There's some military things in there. I tried to find it. I wasn't able to in the time I had, but there's a super primitive knitting machine. If you ever seen, the knitting machines that people use today, imagine one that was made with, I don't know, their knitting machine. Knitting machines today are incredible. This one was doubly so. I'm sure it didn't work very well, but it was the, sort of great ancestor to the knitting machine that we have today. I love Diderot's encyclopedia.
Yeah. That's nuts. Can you spell that for folks?
It's Diderot.
I think that a lot of times people, we say, oh, it's in Diderot's, and so people think that it's called in Diderot's.
Right, and actually it's the Encyclopedia of Arts and Sciences, or, there's a whole bunch of words here. But yeah, if you look for the Encyclopedia of Arts and Sciences and you just type in Diderot. There's also D'Alembert, but most people just Diderot's and they know what
So a ton of super chat came in, but I also have a ton of great questions and comments. So I'm going to hit some of this super chat, and then we might have to leave it and then come back to it.
Okay.
We'll get it all
taken
care of. So the next one is from Holly Clias. Sorry. Thank you for all you do. First time I've made the live stream.
Thank you, Holly.
Jeb Reed says, what version of the iPhone was popular in the 1820s? Okay, Jeb. Zachary Holtzman Love your video. Keep up the great work and stay safe. JMS, hey guys, thank you for all you do. John, what is your favorite journal that you've read so far?
Well, the go-to, I really do think that Cresswell is a go-to, and it's an easy, fun read. Peter Kalm is full of just amazing things, but he goes off and tells us about birds and bugs and trees, which is interesting, but I'm really interested in human culture more than I am about what they knew about nature, which is, again, still an interesting topic. But those two are the biggies.
I like Backwoods of Canada.
Backwoods of Canada is
great.
great.
It's a little later, but it's from a female perspective. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and she's a writer. She's not just like keeping a journal. She writes well. So, Dominica Sasanka says, I'm late tonight, but hello. Great to see you as always, guys. Dino M. Breading or hanging modern sausage. I was lucky enough to receive a quantity of bacon and sausage, but no room in my fridge. Got any clues on brining or hanging modern sausage?
You can smoke it, and it should. Well, I don't know. I'm not giving any advice.
It's dangerous.
And then 3 people died. It's just not a good idea.
Oh man, you guys can comment all you want to on that, and he can take whatever advice he'd like.
There you go.
Aaron C says, here's some grog money so you can drink at the cabin.
Oh yeah.
Thank you so much.
Ryan will undoubtedly share.
Jeb Reed, I'm using your channel for info and preparation for my future living in the woods near the house I will lose from
like everyone else.
Usually, just the usual stuff. Christopher Ramsey, thanks again for the Glastonbury. For this great... Oh, from Glastonbury. I'm sorry. For this... We need Aaron back here. For this great start to the weekend. Stay safe and healthy. I'm not supposed to be reading out loud. Speed and Style Tony. I feel like I have to say his name fast. Speed and Style Tony. I liked the video on Monday. It is all in the edit. Kudos to Aaron. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go Aaron.
I didn't have anything to do with it.
Nope. Not a single thing. I wasn't even there. Patricia DeAngelis. Have some nutmeg money from the UK. I love the Nutmeg Tavern.
Thank you.
Hey, we like the Nutmeg Tavern. It's cozy in here.
I always have fun.
That fire is burning.
Yeah. Whew.
Drinks
Careful.
to be had. Christine Pearson, thank you for the stuff you do.
Thank you.
And that takes care. We powered through Super Chat.
Yay.
Right on.
No
Okay.
questions. No questions in Super Chat.
No. Super Chat's easy and kind to you right now.
Yes.
Okay, so now comes the questions. So somebody was asking this last week too. They see your advertisements in Backwoods Magazine. Mm-hmm. They wonder if you'll ever contribute to Backwoods Magazine as a writer.
I don't know what I would write about.
Well, there we go. Okay.
Apparently, I'm more of a talker than a writer.
Let me tell you. Still doing this charcoal method in India. I think we talked about that. Mm-hmm. Were most people jack of all trades in the 18th century?
Maybe more than they are today, but no, there was a lot of people that really specialized in what they do. Obviously, I mean, you kind of think about farmers being more jack of all trades is sort of a, what's that farm machinery magazine, farm show or whatever it is, and it's just chock full of, farmers making weird machines. And I made a baler out of a bus and anyway. And so since more of the population is agriculturally oriented, I think more of them tended to be jack of all trades, but there were plenty of people who were very specialized.
Somebody just commented, I'm getting out of the Army soon, and I can't wait to put the info you share to use. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Were craft people in urban areas more specialized.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's a good generalization. Obviously, it's going to be wrong in the individual case a lot of times, but I think there's a lot of opportunity in urban situations for people to be very specialized in what they do.
A lot of people are giving you suggestions on what to write about in backwoods, so you should go through here and check that out later. Unfortunately, John's going to feel convicted now, and he's going to write weekly for the publication.
So, do you want writing or do you want videos?
Whoa.
There's the question.
Man, you got to go there.
I'm gonna,
How are metal items polished and kept from corrosion?
Well, the polishing is, done the same way it's done today in a lot of circumstances, maybe, more hand done. But, like you've got the picture of the guy with the wheel and he's got a grinding wheel, or you can do a polishing wheel the same kind of way. They had a standard mechanical ways they can do that. Then there is the polishing with hand materials like brick dust and sand and things that are much even finer than that. So way back, I had this interesting video on horsetail, which is a sort of a very hard to kill weed. That's a strange primitive plant, but one of the interesting aspects of it is it brings up minute silica particles and distributes them on the outside of the stem. And you just pick that and you can use it, and it makes this amazingly fine polishing material. Dutch pipes, I think, is another word for it. Really, really interesting material for doing a fine sort of soft polish on things. And they also had items like sandpaper, primitive kinds of sandpaper.
Yeah, sand goes a long way for polishing. Man, it's really active. Thanks, guys. I'm going to try my best to keep up. Would they use livestock to power hammers? And also, just overall, how did livestock fit into the industrial world that we were looking at?
Well, we saw the one horse in that setting where the horse was being used to pull an item around. That's very common. Sometimes you'll see oxen being used in a simple situation, or donkeys. Usually that's a rotary power situation where they're going around and around. And then you'll have things like teams that are straight pulling, linear motion. Those things are being used in different sort of industrial situations. But a lot of times that's a lot of work, and it's easier to get 3 or 4 guys to do the job rather than use a horse or some other animal. There's even like the spit dogs. I don't think you'll see that. I think it was a lot easier to command the motions of a man than it is an animal. So you'll see people power being used in a lot of times. Power hammers, not easy to get sort of that operation going on with an animal. So generally that's a water power, maybe air, like a wind power, but I doubt it. I think water's the main
I don't think
one.
you want to hook a power hammer up to something that you can't, like you don't know what it may do next, right?
Well, yeah,
It's just
exactly.
that whole thing. Somebody just commented, and I thought it was funny, so I'm pushing it to the top.
Uh-oh.
Do you know any good 18th century insults or names to call people?
Ooh. Out of the blue, that one's hard for me to, shut your potato trap, for your mouth. There's probably a bunch that they'll come to me in about 5:05.
Yeah, I can't think of any that I think are appropriate to say right now.
There is that we have to be concerned with.
Yes. How are gears made for watches? I know we've talked a little bit about this, but gears, watches.
Well, there's a whole section of it's horography, I think, in the book here, which shows the making of all those little tools. And you have to have, the gear has to be you have this circle of the gear stamped out or cut out, and then you have to put it in an indexing machine, and then another machine comes in and slices the gear slots in it. So all these things take a very sometimes, well, especially watch gears. I mean, they're tiny. They have to be very, very precise. It takes very, very precision materials. It's kind of amazing, but I mean, they did it all the time. So it's kind of fun to see how they were doing those things in that sort of, but everything's hand done. You know, it's really fun.
I think gears in general, it's so precise and they're used for everything.
Yeah.
So, what reenacting group does John belong to?
Well, many, many years ago, I was sort of half in the Virginia State Navy and some other little groups. When I was very young, while back in the heyday of the historic fort at Fort Wayne, I was one of the volunteers there. But generally, I'm sort of too busy to do a thing like that because I'm doing what I do.
Somebody's asking if you can use 100% clay kitty litter to make an earthen oven.
Well, you can, but the problem is that when you get 100% clay, it shrinks and cracks. While you make a ceramic vessel out of 100% clay, the vessel is not very intricate, and it can dry and shrink all in one piece without having any stresses in it. But when you make an oven, it's a lot of different thicknesses and some intricate shapes, and what will happen is as that shrinks up, especially if it's stuck down to a base, it will crack basically so much so that it will not be usable. It'll just break into pieces as it dries up. So you need to have a tempering material like the sand, which allows that, it basically keeps it from shrinking to any great extent at all because it's shrinking around all those sand particles. So doing it with sand mixed in is going to work versus the 100% clay thing. They had ovens like that were made as a one-piece unit. Sort of, I mean, today, if we want to think of a unit, a thing that's made like that, that's very complex, different kind of, is a toilet, right? So they have to cast this in a big like plaster mold, and then they have to let it dry so it all shrinks up just right. Then they fire this giant, I mean, it's pretty interesting how you'd be able to fire this giant ceramic thing, not have it break, have glaze all over it, it's all perfect and everything. They had, I think it was a factory in Great Britain that made a style of clay oven that was all in one piece. I think that there was, at Jamestown, there was a piece of that was recovered. So those, I mean, there's something like that. It's just so much easier to use the sand.
I think that part of that conversation is our expectation now of how long something is supposed to last, right?
Exactly.
Like when it comes to like things like dugout canoes or earthen ovens, those were meant to do this thing and then be done with them. It was like, well, I spent a lot of time working on this. I want this to last for forever.
Yeah. Too true.
Somebody is asking, what did you do or what do you do as a career?
Well, way back when I went to college for electrical engineering, but too much math. So I ended up coming back to the family business, which is what you're looking at.
Yeah, I think that we've got a bunch of people that are on board from recent videos that might not understand what the whole concept here is. Townsends started out as a family business that my father started in 1973 to sell reenacting supplies to reenactors, or people that were wanting to camp in a period way. So this is 1973, right before the bicentennial. There was a lot of interest in colonial time period and in buckskinning time period after that. A lot of people, it's like, hey, where do I get candle lanterns? And that's what we started out making, candle lanterns, other kinds of lanterns. And it grew into what it is. I mean, just a lot of people making, stuff that goes to supply reenactors, movies, if they make them anymore, television, the outfits, all the mugs and all these different sorts of things that you need if you want to live like you're in the 18th century. That's what we do. Wow. Man, we do a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to catch up some on super chat because it just keeps rolling in. Tony Smith says, getting wasted on the ginger beer recipe. My wife thanks you. So,
because you're out of the house, or out of it?
Jeb Reed says your YouTube videos are handsome, hands down.
Yeah.
They're not handsome. They're not. They're hands down.
Let's all chip in and buy Ryan some glasses.
How about some booze? I think I do better. Hands down, the best, most useful info on the planet and all of human history. Jeez Louise.
Well, that's a tall bill to fill there.
Who needs the Diderot's Encyclopedia?
Yeah.
Were there fortune tellers in the 18th century? That is from Gail Giddings.
Yeah, and there's other kinds of things that are like fortune telling, like fortune books, and there's certainly that kind of stuff going on in the 18th century.
Okay, Max are cool.
Yeah, Max are cool.
What kinds of things would 18th century folks use charcoal for besides heating and cooking? Please answer in character with your voice. Imagine that Nicholas Cresswell had.
I just don't want to try an English accent. I just can't do it.
Never mind. I'm just done.
You'd be good over there, right? They would, you grind it up, and you get like lamp black that you can use for different things that you mix in as a chemical. So your carbon compounds, you can use it for high temperature, creating high temperature heat situations. It gets used in something like making lime. So if you want to make lime, you have a lime kiln where you put in the limestone and then you mix it with charcoal, and that creates heat right inside of the making that, and chemically changes the limestone into quicklime. And then something like if you want to make iron, you mix up iron ore with in different kinds of iron things with charcoal inside that.
Were they doing any purifying with charcoal at the time period?
Probably.
Yeah.
And I'll bet you'll find it in the medical books too.
Okay. So this one, I'm just going to read it how it is. Jeb Reed, toilet paper, 1820s, COVID, ye old Costco TP run, question mark. They want to know if there's
I'm glad you're going to interpret this for me. Good.
There's a lot of speculation as to what was being used in the privy, and I've had a lot of very kind emails recently of people talking to me about what they think was used in the privy, and it's just not something I really want to talk about. But
I'm with Ryan on that one.
Yeah,
but interesting
you guys
topic.
Are great.
Nonetheless.
Thank you for that wonderful question.
Right.
DTH 420. Hey John, loving the live stream. How fast would I be killed for witchcraft if I went back to the 18th century with my iPhone?
Depends on where you're at. I mean, we'll move the iPhone off to the side, and just say witchcraft in the 18th century, and that was, let's say that was. Depending, especially 17th century. By the time the 18th century, there's not so much of that being really talked about. 17th century, obviously, it's a much bigger topic. If you're in some place like New England, whoa, look out! Don't be, don't get caught up in that situation. But if you're in Pennsylvania, where the Quakers are at, it's not a big deal. In fact, they were madder at the people that were bringing this to light, or the tale tellers, than they were about the people that were being accused. And that sort of probably Virginia is kind of halfway. It's like, well, this witchcraft thing, but really New England is mostly where that is being talked about and brought forth in a legal kind of way. Most of the places, it's not a big deal.
Ken Garino is chiming in on Super Chat saying, thanks for the great videos and live chats. FYI, I'm in the process of making mushroom ketchup.
Ooh, that's a good thing, because you can't get it right now. Nope. You've got to make it yourself. Yep. So I hope it turns out great. Pretty soon I'm going to be out of my special secret stash, and I'll have to be making it myself too.
Yeah, I've been out of my stash. My kids aren't happy. Jamie Renner What is your favorite 18th century cookbook?
We talked about this in the little live stream we did midweek with the Patreon people, and I would point people to. I don't have it right here. Probably Eliza Smith's Complete Housewife, which is just pre Hannah Glass. Hannah Glass's cookbook is really good, but I like that 1735 cookbook. It's it's got a lot of simple stuff in it. It's not too fancy. Probably number 2 would be a definite go-to is the Amelia Simmons American Cookery cookbook from 1796. But you really need a little context to understand that one. And it is a bridge between a whole new world of the way cookbooks are done from the old style. So,
yeah. I want to, so this is from Tezzeret 14. I want to farm some land, but want to do it in the old-fashioned way. Where can I get a plow meant to be towed by a donkey? Are donkeys okay, or should I have a mule?
Well, a mule's going to be a lot more powerful. But I would talk to the people at Tillers.
Yeah, I was just talking to them yesterday.
Were you? Yeah. Okay, so Tillers International is up in Michigan, just south of Kalamazoo, but that's not their address. Anyway, yeah, Tillers International though. They have workshops. Well, let's say in normal times.
Actually, right now they're doing some YouTube stuff because they don't have their workshops. So I would just look for Tillers International on YouTube and see what they're doing. But they can contact the people that you need to get in touch with.
They teach how to do teams and oxen teams and other kinds of animal-drawn things. They teach how to make those sorts of tools that you would need. They use a lot of 19th century technique adapted. So it's a real interesting concept of mixing old technology with new needs. A lot of that they work with a lot of people in, say, like Africa, where machinery is hard to get or keep going, and so they kind of have this adaptive technology concept. So Tillers International, check them out.
Yeah. Toto just played through my head because Aaron. Anyway, this moved on me.
Let's take a break from what you're doing. Let me get the second half of Patreon really quick, so you can catch up. Find yourself in there. I know it's tough to do over there.
I just did.
Anyway, here we go. The second half of the Patreon names. Patreon is one of those ways that people help us. They go to this website, they sign up for this little amount of money that comes out of their account each month. And the new folks. The second half is Andrew Widmer, David, I don't know the rest of it, Aaron Griffin, Carrie, and then there's a Lauren, there's a Stephanie Robbins, Vincent Larson, Laura Z, Zachary Smith, and Gabriel, and then there are a few people that changed their level. They went up. Sue O'Connor, R.G. DeStoffel, or DeStoff. Stolf. I'll get it right. Chris 15252 and Lisa Fittenhoff. Those are all people that went up in Patreon. Again, helping us out. I changed the levels there a little bit, so there's some more options. Yeah, I created the golden nutmeg level. And some people just do a one-off sort of thing. The best way to do that is PayPal. So we've got a Michael Valentin on PayPal this week. Whew.
Wow.
Thanks
you guys, so much, guys.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
You make it happen. You make it so that we know we can do this kind of material. We can plan ahead. We can buy the right kind of equipment and all that good stuff.
We can plan trips and different projects that we could not plan a few years ago.
That's
it's
true.
Just all there is to it.
Too true.
All right, we got to blitz through some stuff. Number one, why don't you show people that product there?
I was supposed to do this at the beginning.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you don't do things right, and I have to come behind you and clean things up.
So people asked for cloth face masks.
There they are.
Made by the people at Townsends out of fabric from Townsends. We've got checked ones. We've got plain This one actually, it looks like black on the screen, but it's dark green. I guess you can see it's dark green.
It looks like the same color as your
Yeah, it does.
coat there. Jacket.
Not the same material, but same color. You know, those are available on our website, and we thought, you know, some people, well, it's not always easy to find what you need these days, is it? They're made with a little kind of a pocket in the middle. So multiple layers here, and you can put filter material in the inside if you want to try to get some special filter material. So there's a little pocket there inside there. Made with ties, not elastic, because, you know, they didn't have elastic in the 18th century.
No, they didn't.
There's a link.
Yeah, it's in there. I threw
In
it
the chat and in the description of the video.
Okay, this is where we're at. We got like 10 minutes to get through a lot of stuff. So, you ready?
Is
You
this
feeling
lightning
strong?
round?
Are you feeling strong?
Yes.
Okay, Beads, Boxes, and Beyond says, hello from sunny Florida. Enjoy 18th century tropical drink on me. Love your channel. Thank you.
Thank you.
DTH 420. Hey, John, love the live stream. If I traveled... Oh, wait, that's in there again. Sorry, guys. We know about the witchcraft.
Yeah, okay.
This next fella is Dusty, and love from where is that from? Saskatchewan, Canada. Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan. Thank you. Jeez. Man, I'm doing bad today. Adam Gear, jeez. Do you plan to, or will you be having the cabin open to the public?
Unfortunately, no. It's really not in the best location for that sort of thing.
Dominica Sasanka, you probably already talked about it, but if not, when do you think the lovely mugs will be here?
I thought we were going to see them this week, but, you know, supply of anything these days is totally up in the air. You just don't know who's working, who's not working.
Except Townsends is working.
Except we're working.
You know that.
But if we can't get the stuff, then...
Here we go.
But, well, I'll see what I can do about the mugs.
He wants to get a coffee grinder, or I'm not sure.
Coffee grinder's in stock, I believe.
Right. Well, but I think the cup, they want to do a one-time purchase.
Ah, well...
Heather B. My daughter Charlie, who is 9, would like to know what the largest 18th century food you have prepared.
Like the most complicated?
I just says largest.
Largest.
Have you made anything Ryan-sized? Pull that out of an oven.
I'm trying to think of, what do you think, Ryan?
Jeez. I mean, that goose was a small goose, but it was...
Yeah, we haven't like barbecued a whole hog or anything.
No. But we have made pretty big feasts.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, that whole Thanksgiving meal where
yeah.
we did the big turkey and a chicken and all that. So probably that one is the biggest kind of complex project. There's a big playlist. Okay, there's a playlist on the Thanksgiving meal.
Gemista is what I'm going to stick with. Hey, John. I love both the channel and the Townsends shop. I'm wondering if you would ever reboot 16mm Adventures.
Oh, gosh.
Safe. Man, it keeps coming up.
There's only just so many things I can do. I've been thinking, and I know it's weird, I've been thinking about 16mm, but I haven't been able to. I actually used a little bit of the footage I had done earlier, and I've been thinking about, you know, I had kind of, there's maybe one episode that I'm kind of chewing on.
Man, that'd be cool. Rob Poole is super chat. Thank you for all of the content. Havoc is in super chat. Hey, John, love the channel. If you could do reenactment historical stuff for any other time period, what do you think you'd choose?
Viking.
Yeah? Somebody just asked why we don't make Viking food.
Well,
Look out, guys. We're going to change the channel.
all
tomorrow.
Viking all day.
I'm finally going to fit into this thing.
I don't want to see you as dressed up as a Viking.
This is my opportunity. People won't be like, who's the giant in the background? They'll be like, who's the normal sized guy and why does John look so small?
Yeah, you got this little guy.
David Dinelli, thanks for all you do. Stay healthy. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Sue O'Connor, thanks for the golden
Sue.
nutmeg.
Yeah.
We want holiday card, says Sue. What do you think about that?
Holiday card?
Yeah. for the golden nutmegs, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, well, one of the things that's been going out in the boxes lately are these really, I don't have any, because I never have what I need up here, but these really cool bookmarks. We're putting bookmarks that having printed up, and they're kind of fun and everything. So maybe we'll do holiday cards.
You never know what we're surprised you with, Sue.
No, it's crazy.
You just keep throwing suggestions out there, and something's going to stick. DTH 420, one more. What's the most accurate period film? Well, we get this one sometimes. That's weird. It's really hard.
Because they're in different genres, and I love Master and Commander.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I would go. Master and Commander is based on the Master and Commander series by Patrick O'Brien, and I think they did a tremendous job in that movie of bringing those things in, at least visually. I mean, maybe there's some philosophical things that were in some of the characters' heads at times where you're going, but I think they knocked it out of the park, to mix our metaphors.
I like that one a lot. So, to mix okay, so we're going to get through these lightning fast. Maybe we could call it a lightning round.
Okay.
255. Did American cities use torches to light streets?
Sometimes they used a torch-like thing, which is the basket of ember, a basket of wood, and they would throw it in there, I think.
Was there glass industry happening in America?
Yes. Some really interesting work that was being done in glass in 18th century America.
Can you do something similar to this, but on farming techniques?
Farming. Oh, you mean the Diderot's thing?
Yeah.
There's some agriculture in here, so yeah.
Were there wandering merchants?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, peddlers and whatnot, sure.
This one, here's the golden question. This one,
Ooh,
because you actually emailed me about this.
Is this a platinum question?
Jeez, look out. So you emailed me about this. We haven't had a chance to connect on it, but somebody else asked this. What would you say to a beginner who wants to start a life like this?
Oh, that was that question.
Yeah.
And what did I say?
You didn't. You just
I didn't say.
You said
like,
interesting question, and you forwarded me an email.
My brain, Okay. Here's where I was going to go. Do I have to keep this with a lightning round? Should this be a bigger episode? I don't know.
Yeah, well,
No. Let's do the quick answer.
Let's go.
Let's do the quick answer. So look up Tasha Tudor. And there was another name that was popping into my head at the same time. There's the guy in Alaska. There are some people throughout history, not that much past to history, that have grasped onto these ideas and lived that way. Oh, what about Fort Bumper, right? The Fort Bumper people,
yeah.
Right? And then, there's a lot of other parts of the world, just because this seems just ultra strange to us here in North America, because we live in the first world, there's a lot of the world that does not live in the world we live in. And their world is not that much different than what was happening in the 18th century. So it's there, right, to grasp, to experience. And the knowledge is there, the ability is there. It's just that we refuse to give up what we have.
Well, I feel like a lot of times one thing that we as our society really struggle with is like, we want to be prepared for this thing before we even start to do it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times we just end up sitting on our hands watching YouTube videos about stuff or reading about stuff, and we're not doing very much of that thing, or even working towards that.
Yeah, there's a lot more people that live in that sort of way than you can possibly imagine.
David K asks, how's the cabin holding up?
Cabin's doing great. No real issues whatsoever, other than the standard leakage that we had from the very beginning. But no, it's just holding up great.
That was Super Chat, by the way. And Rob Poole comes in with Super Chat. Would you do the calendar as a pre-order Kickstarter where you only print if you hit a certain funding point?
Either that, or we could possibly do like a POD, print on demand sort of thing with a smaller quantity. We'd have to.
We're kicking around ideas for the calendar.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. What
It's
happens.
tough. It just really has to do with the amount of hours, man hours that we have available to us to do what we need to do. And we have to just basically choose. Do I make a video or do I work on this project?
This whole thing is like difficult because right now we're pushing off everything that we're going to do in the spring, and we got to figure out when to do that. So the fall is when the calendar normally comes out. One more question: how was paint made?
If you want to watch the oilcloth episode, that is basically paint of the 18th century, boiled linseed oil, so that's the vehicle and the sort of the plastic of paint, and then you have the other pigment and kind of filler material, whether it's iron oxide or some other lead oxide or whatever it is. It's sort of filling in the gaps of paint, oil-based paint. There are some other types of paint in the 18th century, milk paints and like whitewash. This is lightning round.
Somebody said I missed a question and I can't find it. Did I miss a question?
Well, we'll just have to go back and find it, and we'll try to get you in next week's live stream. If I missed anybody on PayPal or Super Chat, so sorry. We will do our best to get with you and at least talk about it next live stream, but we are out of time. My chariot is turning into a pumpkin as we speak. And so I want to say super thank you to all you Super Chat folks. An extra special thank you to the Patreon folks. Ryan, thanks for coming in today. He's normally out because he's working remotely, but he came in just for the live stream and a little bit of hat work. It has been tremendous. I so love coming into the Nutmeg Tavern and meeting with all you folks. I'm so glad that we were able to do this today. I hope you have a tremendous week, and thanks you for everything you do.